What is going on, everybody? My name is Jay, this is Unplayable, and today I'm going to be reviewing Call to Adventure, a Stormlight Archive. Now this is from publisher Brotherwise Games and designers Chris and Johnny O'Neill. And shout out to Brotherwise Games because they did give this to me as a review copy so I can give my opinions and show you guys what I think about this game. So I'm not going to go through a full rules teach. I'm just going to give you the basics of the mechanics of the game and what you're trying to do so that you guys have a focal point of where I'm coming from when I do the review. Let's go ahead and start with that. Essentially, throughout this game, you are going to be creating your journey, your character's arc, and ending the game trying to score the most points by basically creating the coolest story for your character. And in a way, you're going to be attempting challenges, gaining traits for your characters, and playing various hero or anti-hero cards, gaining corruption, getting rid of that corruption, and doing all these using all these experiences that you've gained throughout the game to try and score the most points. So think of it as kind of rolling an RPG character and creating their traits and skills and things like that. So every player during setup is going to get one of these player boards. On this player board, you're going to have 3 cards, 1 for each chapter. The game plays over 3 chapters, which can be any number of rounds. You're going to be going through the chapters as your character. So you can think of chapter 1 as kind of building the foundation of your character. Chapter 2 is kind of their strife and journeys, and then chapter 3 can be kind of the climax of your character's story in a way. You're also going to have this track on the left. On the left side of the board, you're going to have this track that you're going up and down based on whether you gain corruption or shed that corruption. Where you are on the track determines if you can play hero cards or anti-hero cards. If you're kind of in the middle, still undecided, then you can play both. If you're very heroic, you can only play hero cards. If you're very corrupted, you can only play anti-hero cards. So at setup as well, you're going to have 3 kind of markets of cards: chapter 1 cards, chapter 2 cards, and chapter 3 cards. When you're in chapter 1, you can only gain from the chapter 1 cards until someone reaches chapter 2. Once that person's reached chapter 2, they're going to reveal the chapter 2 cards. You then have the option of going straight to chapter 2, but the person who has filled in all of chapter 1 for their character cannot interact with chapter 1 cards any longer. The way you fill in is once you've gained 3 cards from a single chapter, you're done with that chapter. You've completed it, you're past it, now you're on to the next chapter. When you gain these cards, whether it's gaining a trait or accomplishing challenges, which are the 2 things you can do on your turn. You can either just simply gain a trait, or you can try to achieve a challenge. So if you're going to be taking a trait, for example, it's something like this card here, Ardent, you would become, basically, you're saying my character is an Ardent. So you take the card and you slide it into the slot on your chapter 1 on the board. Now it also provides you additional runes that you can use while you're attempting challenges. It also has special text here that you would have to read. So it says, when you gain this trait, you gain Sun, which goes up on your hero track, and you choose another hero to gain a Sun, which goes up on their corruption track. I mean, there are some that have requirements, some traits that are like, you can't take this if you're too corrupted or if you don't have enough of the radiant icons. Keep that in mind, but simply taking a trait is just taking it from Tableau and slotting it in. To attempt a challenge, and I'll show you one here, you can do let's do inherit shard plate, or ancestral shard, I mean. So if you look at ancestral shard, there's 2 options. You can either inherit shard plate, or you can claim a shard blade. Claiming a shard blade is much more difficult because you have to defeat someone that has a shard plate than just inheriting it. So if you look at the top left, 3 is the base challenge threshold for inheriting shard plate. It has +1 if you're attempting to claim the shard plate. And then if you look at the 2 rune icons and underneath the value there, that's showing you what runes you're allowed to use for this challenge. And then based on how many of those rune symbols you have on your character board, you would gain those runes along with the basic runes. You would roll and see if you got enough to achieve the challenge. If you did, you would slide it into your where whatever chapter it is, you would slide it into that based on top or bottom based on which one you did. And then it will provide you with the symbols and the runes when you attempt new challenges. If you fail, you simply discard it and you gain an experience. You might have failed the challenge, but you at least gained an experience. There are also hero and anti-hero cards, which you'll gain through rolling the runes or casting the runes. And you can play these. They will help you with challenges. They will help you gain experience, all kinds of different abilities. And then once you've reached chapter 3, if you have a special type of kind of in-game scoring, you get to reveal it, have that ability for the rest of the game. If not, it might stay face down and just give you points at the end of the game when you finish. Casting runes. So for example, if I was attempting that challenge and I got to use the basic runes, plus 1 red and 1 orange rune, then I would gather those, roll, and see how many of these values I got. So if you roll basically a slash, that's just 1 success. So here I rolled 4 successes. That means I would get either one of these based on which one I choose, because the base is 3 and then the special one is only 4, so I would have succeeded. There are some sides of the runes that give you +2 or 2 successes. Some of them simply give you anti-hero or heroic cards. Some of them give you experience. All kinds of different cool things you can do with casting these runes. At the end of the game, you're going to count up the point values that you have on your traits, on your characters, any hero or anti-hero cards you played, and then also on your corruption track. And whoever has the most points is going to be the winner. It's a very straightforward game. There's a little bit more to it than what I said here, but that's the general premise. There is also a cooperative and solo mode, and I'm not going to get into how that plays, but it's basically the same as this, except you also have to fight the boss, which is Odium, at the end of the round, or at the end of the chapter. And if you guys succeed in defeating the boss, then you win. But the gameplay during the game is essentially very much the same. All right, let's get into the review. Let's start with the theme, because I think that's the most important part of this game for me. The theme is the Stormlight Archive, which you can see here. I have read all of the first book and I'm almost done with the second book. I got these a little over a week ago after playing this for the first time and decided, I think I need to read these. Not only because I want to give a fair review for this game, but also because the new Cosmere RPG is on Kickstarter and all these things. I've been wanting to read these for a long time. So I said, let's read them and then play it again and see how it feels. This game, after having read the first 2 books, basically all of the second book, it is so much fun to see artwork for these characters and see specific points in the plots that are in the books playing out. For example, now I will say that if you haven't read these books, this might be a little bit spoilery for you. There's like survive a high storm, there's study at the Palaneum, there's experience the past, there's being a bridgeman, there's desert the army, there's being a light eyes, there's being a dark eyes, there's having a brother, there's applying to be a ward, there's gaining shard plates or shard swords. There's all kinds of wicked cool things. And in the hero and anti-hero cards, there's the say the words, there's the next ideal, there's honor blade, stormlight, take shelter, all kinds of things that you would not really understand that well if you haven't read the books, but it gives it a whole new breath of life when you have read the books, which is really cool. So I think the theme here is sweet. They also provide this cool Roshar guide that kind of gives you lore of the different races, of the different people, the different spren, all kinds of stuff. I thought this was, just having this was very cool, I thought, in my opinion. So if you've never read the books, I'm not saying you can't play this game, because I played it, I still enjoyed it, and some of it is just kind of basic, right? So like you can start as a farmer, you can be free-spirited, you can fight, obviously, you can defeat monsters, and you don't really need to know what a chasm fiend is to know that attempting that challenge is defeating a monster for some reason. So you can definitely play this without knowing Stormlight Archive, but I do think it definitely adds to it if you do know the Stormlight Archive. So if you're gonna play this, I highly recommend reading the book, which is fun, but you don't have to. So don't hold out on playing this game just because you haven't read the books. I recommend still playing it or playing the base Call to Adventure. Base game Call to Adventure is the same thing, except it's just generic fantasy, where I think this is way cooler because it's not generic fantasy. So there's that. The production. The production is fantastic. The box is probably too big for the components that are in it. It's a very big box. It's not little, but it does have a magnetic clasp, which is cool. It does have this cool, making it look like a book thing. It's got good artwork on it. It's got this tray for the runes that you're casting. The cards and the artwork on the cards is great. The pieces are fantastic. The player boards are flimsy. That's fine. It's not a super expensive game, so they have to cut corners somewhere, and I'm sure making these runes is not cheap. In the base game Call to Adventure, these experience tokens are plastic, so it's kind of a letdown that they went back to cardboard for this, but that's fine. Rulebook leaves a little bit to be desired. I did have to look a couple things up online just to fully understand, but it's not a terrible rulebook. It'll definitely get you going, and that's great. Like I said, the lore book is great. That's a sweet addition to the game, especially for those who know the lore. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the production. The production is great. Now my review on the game. The game is fun. I do think that the Stormlight Archive lore and theme really adds to it and probably brings my rating up more than what I would normally rate Call to Adventure. The game is straightforward. It's you take a card or attempt a challenge and try to score the most points based on what cards or set collection you did. I didn't mention it in the overview, but there is a set collection of trying to collect certain symbols on these cards that will give you more points at the end. Based on what end game scoring card that you have for chapter 3, you're going to be targeting certain types of cards to try and score more points. I think the corruption track is pretty neat. All right, there's not a ton of opportunities to go up on the track, so once you go down, it can be kind of tough to get back up, but not impossible. I also didn't mention that there's dark runes, which you can use for challenges, and to gain those, you just simply pay an experience and get to use it, but they can cause you to go down on the corruption track. But if you really, really want to succeed in the specific challenge, it's worth using, because it's basically, at minimum, it's 1 success, and then on the corruption side, it's 2 successes. So spending 1 essentially guarantees you're getting at least 1, but could be getting 2. So they're not bad. Kind of figuring out how to score well can be kind of hard to grasp a little bit the first 1 or 2 times that you play the game, but I think as you play it, you'll figure it out and understand a little bit better what you're trying to do, because it is very straightforward. There's not too much that you have to know in order to play this game. So that alone is pretty cool, because you're building a character, and the theme of building your own character and their traits and what kind of strifes and challenges that they accomplished as their life progressed is really cool. I like playing role player for the same reason. So that theme is very evocative for me. The gameplay and mechanics are straightforward. I actually like these runes. Instead of casting or rolling dice, casting the runes is very cool. I think that's a cool little like gimmick of this game. So that is neat. The solo and co-op actually works way better than I thought it was going to. You're basically fighting against Odium, and then there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different cards here, or 4 different cards here that change the kind of flow of the game when you're playing solo or co-op, and changes like what you're trying to gather essentially so that you can fight Odium at the end. So I think the solo and co-op is actually really well done. So if you like solo and co-op games, I do recommend this one for that. I think it is pretty neat. And these hero and anti-hero cards say choose hero. And in a normal game, you're going to pick yourself for like all of this. But the fact that it leaves it open-ended to be able to use on other players' turns for the co-op scenarios is pretty neat. So I think the game overall is fun. I don't think that you don't go into this thinking it's going to be a heavy Euro game. Don't go into this thinking there's tons of strategy. I think this game is its strongest aspect is going to be the theme of building a character, the theme of the Stormlight Archives. So I'm gonna give this game a 7.5 out of 10. It's not bad. I think it's a fantastic game. I don't consider it probably one of my favorite games, but I do like it. I will pull this one out to play, especially because it's Stormlight Archive. I really like looking at these different cards and saying, oh, I remember when that happened in the book. I think that really is fun. There's not a lot that exists for Stormlight Archive outside of the books with like official artwork and stuff, so this is great for that. And then the last little bit that I'll add here is the Cosmere RPG is on Kickstarter right now. Hopefully it's still going when I post this video. I don't know if that's going to be the case or not, but you can use this game to build your character that you play in the RPG, which is like, I think that's really cool. If I keep this game, it would be because I have the intention of playing this so that I can create my character for the Cosmere RPG, which is really neat. Role Player does a similar thing where you can create a D&D character as you play Role Player. This is the same thing except for the Cosmere RPG, which I think is great. I think that's cool that they did that. They didn't have to do that, and they did. But yeah, go check out the Cosmere RPG if you haven't already. But that's my review of Call to Adventure Stormlight Archive. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Let me know what you think in the comments, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.